You know that feeling when you're driving down the highway and you pull up behind a brand new pickup truck that probably costs more than most people's annual salary? I'm talking about the gleaming monster with chrome everything, leather seats that cost more than your rent, and a price tag that would make your accountant cry. The Ford F-150 Platinum, the Ram 1500 Limited, the Chevy Silverado High Country. These aren't just trucks anymore. They're $70,000, $80,000, sometimes $90,000 rolling statements about financial decisions that make absolutely no sense. And here's the thing that really gets me. The person driving it? They probably make $45,000 or $50,000 a year. Maybe $60,000 if they're doing well. So what's going on here? How are regular people affording monthly payments that exceed what most Americans pay for rent? How is a teacher, a nurse, a retail manager, or an office worker driving a vehicle that costs more than they make in an entire year? My name is Max, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and the absolutely insane financial decisions people make. If you've ever looked at your neighbor's $70,000 truck and wondered how the hell they can afford that while you're clipping coupons for groceries, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today, I'm going to show you exactly how people are pulling off these impossible payments. And I'm warning you right now, the answer is going to make you angry, sad, and maybe a little bit scared for the future of American personal finance. Let's start with the numbers, because when I tell people what the average car payment is in America right now, they usually think I'm making it up. That's not for some luxury BMW or Mercedes. That's the average payment for a regular new vehicle purchased by a regular person with regular credit. But it gets so much worse when you look at trucks and SUVs, which have become the default choice for most American buyers. These payments routinely exceed $900 per month. I'm not talking about outliers. I'm talking about normal, everyday people signing loan documents for $900, $1,000, $1,200 every single month for the next 6, 7, or 8 years. We're talking about total payments that exceed $80,000 or $90,000 over the life of the loan before you even factor in insurance, gas, and maintenance. Now you might be thinking, well, Max, maybe people are just making a lot more money these days. Maybe wages have increased enough to support these kinds of payments. And if that's what you're thinking, I have some really bad news for you. The median household income in America is about $75,000. That means half of American households make less than that. And yet somehow, millions of these households are driving vehicles that cost almost as much as they make in an entire year. So how are they doing it? The answer is a combination of financial engineering, psychological manipulation, and decisions that are slowly destroying people's ability to build wealth. And none of it is good news for the people signing these loan documents. Let's talk about the first piece of this puzzle: loan terms. Do you remember when a car loan was 3 years? Maybe 4 years if you really stretched it? Those days are dead. Completely dead. Today's car loans routinely stretch 6, 7, or 8 years into the future. Some lenders are even offering 10-year car loans, which honestly sounds like something from a financial horror movie. But it's real, and it's happening right now. The appeal is obvious, right? If you spread that $60,000 truck payment over 8 years instead of 4, the monthly payment drops dramatically. That truck, that would have required a $1,500 monthly payment over 4 years, suddenly becomes quote-unquote manageable at $900 over 8 years. The monthly number looks reasonable. It fits in the budget. The salesperson shows you the payment calculator, and you think, okay, I can swing $900 a month. But here's what most people don't think about when they're sitting in that dealership signing papers. By extending the loan term, they're not just lowering the monthly payment. They're dramatically increasing the total amount they'll pay for the vehicle. That $900 payment over 8 years adds up to over $86,000, compared to about $72,000 if they had taken the 4-year loan at a similar interest rate. That's an extra $14,000. $14,000. Just for the privilege of having a lower monthly payment. Even worse, and this is where it gets really dark, they'll be making payments on that truck long after it's worth a fraction of what they paid for it. Cars depreciate rapidly, especially in the first few years. A $60,000 truck loses about 20% to 30% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. By year 3, it's worth maybe 50% to 60% of what you paid. By year 5 or 6 of that 8-year loan, you'll owe significantly more than the vehicle is worth. You'll be trapped in what's called negative equity, or being upside down on the loan, unable to sell or trade the vehicle without writing a check to cover the difference between what you owe and what it's worth. But extended loan terms are just the beginning. The second major factor is the psychological game around 0% financing and other promotional interest rates. Walk into any dealership right now, and you'll see huge signs advertising 0% APR for qualified buyers. Sounds amazing, right? Free money to buy that brand new truck. Here's what they don't tell you, and what most people never figure out until it's too late. Those 0% offers are not actually free money. The cost of that financing is built into the price of the vehicle. You're either paying full sticker price for the truck and getting 0% financing, or you're getting a discount on the truck and paying market rate interest. You cannot get both. The dealer is not a charity. They're making their money one way or another. More importantly, those 0% offers usually come with very strict qualification requirements and shorter loan terms. You need excellent credit, usually a 750 credit score or higher. You need a substantial down payment. And the term is usually limited to 3 or 4 years, not the 6 or 8 years that most people need to make the payment affordable. The people who actually qualify for 0% financing are typically the same people who could afford to pay cash for the vehicle anyway. They don't need the deal. For everyone else, the real interest rates on these extended car loans can be brutal, especially if your credit isn't perfect. I'm seeing loan documents with 6%, 7%, 8%, sometimes 10%, or higher interest rates for people with average or below average credit. At those rates, you're paying an enormous amount of interest over the life of the loan, especially on those 7- and 8-year terms. Then there's the trade-in game, which has become increasingly critical in how people manage to make these payments. Here's how it typically works, and I see this pattern over and over again. Someone buys a new truck with a 6- or 7-year loan. After 3 or 4 years, they're tired of it, or they want something newer, or maybe they just saw a commercial that made them feel like their current truck is inadequate. But they still owe way more on the loan than the truck is worth. So what do? They trade it in. And the dealer happily takes that trade-in and rolls the negative equity into a new loan for an even more expensive vehicle. Let's say you owe $35,000 on your current truck, but it's only worth $25,000. You have $10,000 in negative equity. You're literally paying for a truck you no longer own while simultaneously taking on debt for a new truck. This creates a vicious cycle where people are constantly paying for vehicles they no longer have, while continuously taking on larger and larger loan balances. It's like a financial hamster wheel, where the faster you run, the further behind you get. And the dealers absolutely love this arrangement, because it creates customers for life. Once someone is trapped in the negative equity cycle, they become a captive audience. They can't afford to break free because doing so would require writing a check for thousands of dollars just to get out from under their current loan. But here's what I think is the most disturbing trend. It's how completely normalized these extreme car payments have become in American culture. People who would never dream of spending $1,000 a month on anything else somehow convince themselves that it's perfectly reasonable for a truck. Think about this for a second. If someone told you they were spending $1,200 a month on coffee, you would literally stage an intervention. you'd be worried about them. If they said they were spending that much on clothes every month, you'd assume they had a serious shopping addiction and needed professional help. But when it's a truck payment, we just nod and say, well, you need reliable transportation. We accept it. We normalize it. We treat it like it's a responsible adult decision instead of what it actually is, which is financial insanity. This normalization didn't happen by accident. It's the result of decades of incredibly sophisticated marketing that has convinced Americans that their vehicle is an extension of their identity and their worth as a person. Your truck isn't just transportation. It's a statement about who you are. It shows you're successful, hardworking, capable, someone who's made it. And if you're not driving something impressive, well, what does that say about you? The automotive industry has become unbelievably good at tapping into these psychological triggers. They don't sell trucks anymore. They sell lifestyles. They sell dreams. They sell social status. That commercial showing the rugged pickup climbing over mountains and fording rivers? It's not selling you transportation. It's selling you the fantasy that you're the kind of person who does those things, even though the closest most of these trucks ever get to off-roading is parking on grass at a football game. This emotional manipulation makes it so much easier for people to justify payments that would otherwise seem completely irrational. When you're not just buying a truck, but buying into an identity, buying a vision of yourself as successful and capable, suddenly that $900 monthly payment feels like an investment in yourself rather than a financial mistake that's going to haunt you for the next 8 years. Now let's get into the really practical question. How are people actually making these payments work in their monthly budgets? This is where things get really creative. And by creative, I mean potentially catastrophic for long-term financial health. Many people are essentially restructuring their entire financial lives around their truck payment. They're treating it like a mortgage payment and adjusting everything else to fit around it. I've seen people move to smaller, cheaper apartments just so they can afford their dream truck payment. I've talked to people who stayed with roommates well into their 30s, not because they couldn't afford to live alone, but because living alone would mean giving up the truck. They'll eat ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches for lunch every single day, while driving to work in a vehicle that costs $70,000. They'll skip vacations. They'll avoid going out to restaurants with friends. They'll put off other major purchases like furniture or home improvements. All of this sacrifice to support a car payment that's consuming 25% to 30% or even more of their take-home income. Some people are taking on second jobs specifically to cover their vehicle expenses. They'll drive for Uber or Lyft on weekends. They'll deliver food for DoorDash in the evenings. And here's the really perverse part. They're using their expensive truck to generate the income needed to pay for that same expensive truck. It's this bizarre form of automotive indentured servitude, where your vehicle becomes both your master and your means of survival. Others are dipping into retirement savings or taking loans against their 401k to make down payments or cover unexpected repair costs. They're literally borrowing from their future selves, stealing from their own retirement to fund their current transportation choices. And because most people are terrible at calculating the true long-term cost of early retirement withdrawals, they don't realize they're potentially sacrificing hundreds of thousands of dollars in future wealth for a truck that will be worth practically nothing in 10 years. Then there's the credit card shuffle that's become increasingly common. People will put maintenance costs, repairs, insurance premiums, and fuel on credit cards to free up cash for their monthly truck payment. They're essentially using high-interest debt, 18% to 24% interest, to subsidize their transportation costs. It's like using a blowtorch to light a candle. Technically it works, but it's probably not the smartest approach. The most concerning trend I've seen, and this one genuinely keeps me up at night, is people taking out personal loans or home equity loans to cover down payments or negative equity from previous vehicles. They're leveraging their homes, their single largest asset, the thing that should be building wealth over time, to buy cars. They're using appreciating assets to fund depreciating liabilities. It's backwards. It's completely backwards. But here's where the story gets even more insane. Many of the people making these extreme sacrifices aren't just doing it for one vehicle. They're doing it for multiple vehicles. The average American household now owns more cars than licensed drivers. Let me say that again. More cars than drivers. It's not uncommon to find families with 2 or 3 car payments running simultaneously. Dad has his work truck. Mom has her SUV for carpooling the kids. Maybe there's a third vehicle for the teenager or for weekend adventures. Suddenly, we're talking about combined car payments that exceed $2,000 or $2,500 per month. That's more than most people pay for their mortgage. These families have essentially created their own personal auto financing companies, except instead of making money, they're hemorrhaging it every single month while managing multiple depreciation schedules, multiple insurance policies, multiple maintenance schedules, and multiple loan terms all at once. The psychological effect is fascinating and disturbing. People become experts at juggling payment due dates and minimum amounts, but they completely lose sight of the bigger picture. They'll celebrate paying off one car loan while simultaneously taking on 2 new ones. They measure success by their ability to keep all the plates spinning, rather than ever questioning whether they should be spinning plates at all. And then there's insurance, which most people completely underestimate when they're calculating affordability. Insuring a $60,000 truck costs dramatically more than insuring a $20,000 sedan. Add in comprehensive coverage, collision coverage, gap insurance to protect against that negative equity situation, and all the other protections recommended for expensive vehicles, and you're looking at insurance premiums that can easily exceed $200 or $250 per month. For families with multiple expensive vehicles, insurance costs can approach or exceed $500 monthly. That's $6,000 per year just for the privilege of legally driving depreciating assets on public roads. Many people focus so intensely on negotiating the monthly payment during the purchase that they completely forget to factor in ongoing insurance costs until they're sitting in the insurance agent's office getting a brutal reality check. The maintenance costs present another massive surprise. Modern trucks are incredibly complex machines with advanced technology, computerized systems, sophisticated emissions equipment, and premium components. When something breaks, and it absolutely will break, the repair bills can be staggering. A simple brake job on a modern truck can easily cost $800 to $1,200. Transmission problems can run $5,000 or more. If you're unlucky enough to need major engine work, you might be looking at repair bills that exceed $10,000. Many people making extreme truck payments have zero emergency funds set aside for these inevitable repairs. So when that check engine light comes on, and the mechanic says it's going to be $3,000 to fix, they're putting it on a credit card or taking out another loan. This creates a vicious debt spiral where the truck payment that was supposed to be manageable becomes the catalyst for financial disaster that can take years to escape. I've seen people with pristine $70,000 trucks sitting in their driveways while they're frantically searching couch cushions for gas money. It's like wearing a Rolex watch while eating ramen noodles for every meal. Technically impressive, but completely missing the point of what financial success actually means. The fuel costs alone for these massive vehicles can approach what people used to pay for entire car payments just a decade ago. When you're driving a truck that gets 15 or 16 miles per gallon in real-world conditions, and gas prices are fluctuating between $3.50 and $5 per gallon, you're looking at fuel costs that can easily exceed $400 per month for someone with a normal commute. Add in the occasional road trip or weekend adventure that these trucks are supposedly built for, and that number climbs even higher. Now let's run the actual total cost of ownership numbers, because this is where the math becomes absolutely terrifying. Let's take a typical scenario that plays out thousands of times every single day in America. Someone buys a $55,000 truck with a 7-year loan at 6% interest. Add in insurance at $250 per month, and that's another $21,000 over 7 years. Factor in fuel costs of $350 monthly, and we're talking about another $29,400. Maintenance and repairs over 7 years will easily run another $15,000, probably more. When you add all of this up, this person will spend approximately $132,600 on transportation over 7 years. Let me say that again. They spent $132,600 for the privilege of owning a $15,000 truck. That's not transportation financing. That's wealth destruction with cup holders and heated seats. The most depressing part of this equation is what that same money could have accomplished if invested instead. If someone took that $800 monthly payment and invested it in a simple low-cost index fund, earning a conservative 8% annually, they would have over $85,000 after 7 years. Not only would they have avoided the financial burden of the truck, they would have actually built real wealth instead of destroying it. But here's the psychological trap that makes this cycle almost impossible to break once you're in it. Once someone commits to these extreme truck payments, they develop what I call automotive Stockholm Syndrome. They become emotionally attached to their financial captor. The truck stops being just transportation. It becomes a part of their identity, a reflection of their hard work, a symbol of their success. The idea of driving something cheaper, something more reasonable, feels like admitting failure or accepting a lower social status. This emotional attachment makes rational financial analysis nearly impossible. When someone suggests they could save $500 or $600 monthly by driving a reliable used vehicle, they don't hear a practical financial strategy. They hear an attack on their self-worth and their right to enjoy the fruits of their labor. They'll defend the walk in. Instead, they laser focus on monthly payments, immediate gratification, and social status. The sales process has been refined to overcome every single rational objection a buyer might have. Worried about the payment being too high? Let's extend the term to bring it down. Concerned about reliability? Here's an extended warranty you can finance and add to the loan. Nervous about depreciation and negative equity? Don't worry about it. You'll probably want to trade it in for something even newer in a few years anyway. Every objection has a pre-programmed response designed to keep you moving toward that signature. And it works. It works on millions of people every single year. So there you have it. The mystery of how regular people are affording these absolutely insane truck payments isn't really a mystery at all. It's a carefully orchestrated system of extended loan terms, emotional manipulation, creative financing, and financial decisions that would make any rational financial planner weep. People aren't actually affording these payments in any meaningful sense of the word afford. They're just pushing the financial consequences further and further into the future, while convincing themselves they deserve that shiny new truck. The next time you see someone driving a $70,000 truck and you wonder how they can afford it, remember this: they probably can't. They're probably eating cereal for dinner to make that payment. They're probably one unexpected repair bill away from a financial crisis. They're probably sacrificing their retirement, their emergency fund, their ability to save for a house, all for a vehicle that's losing value every single day. And maybe, just maybe, that reliable used car in your driveway isn't looking so bad after all. If this video opened your eyes to the insanity of modern car buying, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Tell me if you've ever been tempted by one of these deals, or if you've seen friends and family trapped in this cycle. Let's start a conversation about how we got here and how we can make better choices going forward.